It all started late one night when I found a strange frequency on my radio. I had been messing around with the dials in my room, trying to find a music station to keep me awake while I studied, but what I heard next was nothing like music. It was quiet, just static at first. I almost turned it off, but then I heard something through the white noise, a voice speaking softly. My heart skipped. I leaned in closer, turning the volume up. Tomorrow? The main street. A car will crash at noon. I stared at the radio, confused and a bit creeped out. Was this some kind of prank? A weird broadcast? I scribbled down the details on a scrap of paper, half for fun, half out of morbid curiosity. I mean, I didn't really believe it. How could anyone know something like that? But the next day, I couldn't help myself. I went to the main street. I stood by the sidewalk, just a little before noon, feeling both silly and nervous. And then, it happened. Right before my eyes, two cars collided in the intersection, metal crunching, people gasping. It was exactly like the voice had said. My blood ran cold. This was real. Somehow that voice on the radio had known about the crash before it happened. I didn't know what to think. But I knew one thing. I had to listen again. That night I tuned the radio back to the same frequency, half expecting it not to work. But there it was again. That soft, eerie voice slipping through the static. My room felt colder than usual as I leaned in to listen. Tomorrow, the train station. 3 p.m. Someone will fall onto the tracks. I wrote it down, hands shaking. I barely slept that night thinking about it, and I woke up early the next day feeling like I was in some kind of dream. But by 2:45, I was at the train station, scanning the platform nervously. And then I saw her. A woman, maybe in her 20s, standing too close to the edge, eyes unfocused. She looked pale, like she wasn't even really there. I don't know what pushed me, but I ran toward her, feeling like I was moving through water, slow and heavy. I grabbed her arm just as she tilted forward, pulling her back from the edge. She blinked, staring at me like I had just woken her up from a deep sleep. "Thank you," she whispered, voice shaky, and hurried off before I could say anything else. I just stood there, heart pounding, staring at the empty tracks. I'd saved her. I'd actually saved her, and it was all because of the voice on the radio. The next night I waited, almost eager, as the voice crackled through the static. "Tomorrow. You're home. 7 p.m. My heart dropped. My home? My hands felt cold as I wrote it down, the paper slipping under my shaky grip. I had no idea what it meant, but every second dragged as I waited for the next day, counting down the hours to 7 p.m. I locked my doors and sat in my room, watching the clock tick closer. My hands were sweaty, and I kept glancing at the radio, half expecting it to turn on by itself. At exactly 7 p.m., my heart pounded in my ears. And then, nothing. Just silence. Relief washed over me, and I let out a shaky laugh. Maybe it was just a fluke this time. Maybe my phone buzzed, cutting off my thoughts. A text. I glanced down, and my blood froze. It was from my best friend, Sam. "Hey, are you okay?" "I'm almost there." I felt my heart stutter. I had completely forgotten. Sam had been coming over to hang out. I jumped up, scrambling to the window just in time to see headlights flashing as his car pulled up in front of my house. Then, out of nowhere, another car sped down the street. It was swerving, moving way too fast. I could see the driver's face through the windshield, a split second of panic. "No!" I shouted, banging on the window, hoping Sam would hear me, but it was too late. The speeding car slammed into his, a brutal collision of metal and glass that echoed through the night. I bolted outside, not feeling my feet on the ground, barely feeling anything at all. Sam's car was a twisted mess, but he was conscious, dazed, blood trickling down his forehead. I yanked open the door, helping him stumble out as sirens blared in the distance. Later, after the ambulance had come and taken Sam to the hospital, I sat alone in my room, staring at the radio. My hands trembled as I reached for the dial, tuning back to the frequency. The voice was there again, quiet but clear, like it was waiting for me. Tomorrow, 5 p.m., at the bridge. Someone close to you will be gone. I couldn't breathe. Every night it was something worse, something closer. I felt trapped, like I was caught in the current of something I couldn't control. But I knew one thing. Tomorrow I would be at the bridge, because I was going to stop it, whatever it was, no matter what it took.